everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. We are here to help you be that lawyer, someone who's confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. The show continues to evolve, and I've got people listening all over the world. I just got a call from a gentleman in Saudi Arabia who heard the podcast, and it's really wonderful that it's becoming more of an international thing. But let's keep that rock and rolling. So if you're enjoying the show, please tell a friend. Please give us a kind review. Let's spread the word and continue to get some positive vibes out there for us, right, Chelsea? That's all about positive vibes.
That's exactly what it's about.
All right. Well, we're going to continue having some positive vibes with starting off with our quote of the show. And this is a very straightforward one. Accounting is the language of business. And that's a Warren Buffett. I know, I'm joking. Anyway, great to have you on the show. This is your second time?
I think it's my third.
Third time.
Yeah, we have some good episodes.
If I had known that, no, I still would have you.
We're here. We're gonna keep going.
I can't keep you away. Which is great because you're one of my favorite people. You're one of my favorite people to talk lawyers with. So talk a little bit about that quote and why that's the quote of the show today.
Yeah. And, today we're talking about it on a different level. So we always have money conversations, but today we're talking about personal finance, which is really exciting to me. And it really ties in with this quote because, first of all, Warren Buffett understood that in order to have, financial literacy is a literacy, and it is like another language. There are words that go above people's heads and make them shrink and get scared and back off. But what I want to help people today with is that, like, your personal finance is just as much a business as if you own a business. The same exact concepts apply. There are still formulas. The formulas just look different. And so even if you're in your personal money, like, you have to learn this language. You really do. And it's not that difficult. It's not that hard. But once you learn it, it is literally the only way to financial freedom. And that's all we all are really looking for here.
Yeah. And I think when we spoke about having you back on the show, and I think both of our eyes lit up when we talked about the topic of personal finance, because we can talk about the importance of bookkeeping within a law firm. And I think we'll probably touch on that a little bit, but then it's like, all right, so there's people making a little money, there's people making a lot of money, and sometimes they're actually making the same money. You might be actually bringing in $500,000 a year, but you're not really socking it away, or you're not really investing it right. You're not doing the right stuff with your tax. And there's a bunch of different ways to skin that cat. But before we jump in, Chelsea Williams, you are the Chief Financial Architect of Core Solutions Group. You've been on the show a bunch of times. Give everybody a little bit of flavor of why you love the numbers so much.
Yeah, well, when I first discovered that me and numbers could have really easy, fluid conversations and, like, we really understood each other, I ran with it, not really knowing what the heck I was going to do. But over the past 10 years, I've been building a business that caters to law firms, which, when it boils down to it, are just businesses, and business owners are people trying to make a living and do this thing. And so my knowledge has really evolved over the past 17 years to not just come in and offer the things that you need to do, next level thinking, and then bridge that gap between what's happening in your business and how you can manage business finance and have it translate to personal. Because you're absolutely right. You can make a ton of money and at the end of the day still ask yourself, where the heck did it go?
Yeah. I mean, there are people making $1 million a year or more, and I don't know that they have their 529 for their kids set up. I don't know that that they're just not recognizing that, like, as you make more, you tend to try to, you're living that lifestyle that may not be the smartest way, but we'll dive into that in a minute. So your background is with numbers and working with law firms for a number of years now. So what's unique about lawyers maybe than other professions as it relates to the business in the money side of things?
Yeah, so there are definitely, like I said, there's formulas in everything to every version of success, but the numbers and the formulas that you use are different. And for lawyers and law firms, your numbers are different. There are some nuances in the legal space. Another thing with any group of focused people is the mindset, right? The psychology of even approaching the numbers. And I really like working with lawyers because, they're used to being in this position where they have all the answers. And with financial management, they just don't. And so we get to be that safe space where they come and have these conversations and learn without any fear of judgment.
Yeah. Well, and I just, we could say lawyers are a unique breed for a number of different reasons. I think a lot of them go into law because they're not math people. There are some that are, but, and hopefully I don't get in trouble saying that, but I think that's the case. My father was an accountant and a lawyer, so he was a numbers guy. But you mentioned something about like the literacy or the illiteracy of talking money. What does that mean?
Yeah, so just knowing how money moves, how money speaks, what it means, what your options are, because we can listen to professionals and gurus and get money advice or how to invest. But the truth is, the literacy comes in when you know your options. There's no one way to financial freedom.
Yeah. So let's get into the weeds then about about this. So let's start off with just backtracking to what are the key things that lawyers need to do to protect their money and manage their money better at a firm level. And again, not everybody that's listening is a solo small firm. Some of you guys might be, working at big firms. That's fine. But let's just talk about how is that managed maybe in a small firm level.
I mean, the first step, whether you're a firm or an individual, is measuring your money, tracking your money, because what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. Right.
Yeah.
And so the word that people avoid personally is the word budget. Do you have a personal budget? It sounds so restricting, right? But what it is it's financial boundaries. And that's step one, no matter who you are. We have to look at the numbers. How much are you making? How are you making that money? Because, multiple streams of income and each stream has a different formula. And where is that money going? And just bringing awareness to your financial position now can do so much for you.
I mean, is there a way, since, my jam is the business development, to say, look, we're setting goals to bring in 500,000 into this, solo practice, and then like how they look at overhead, how they look at tax, they look at, like just making sure that like they're going to make the money that they want to make. Like, how do they budget for that?
Yeah. So, again, knowing where your money goes and creating boundaries and knowing if you don't hit your revenue goals or if you do, how that affects your expenses. And even if you're not a law firm owner, even if you're that lawyer who gets compensated for doing what you do, you still have overhead expenses. You still have opportunity to invest and delegate, right? Even though you're not taking on the entire business responsibility. And a lot of it comes into, because we have this idea that to solve a problem, we can throw some money at it, right?
Yeah.
Or there's this myth out there that's like, you have to spend money to make money. But time and time again, it's proven that that's not the only option. And when you have some structured way of managing your money, like a budget, you're forced to get creative and think outside the lines, for things that you would otherwise just throw money at.
Right. So what are the most common mistakes that lawyers at law firms make with, and again, I know, we're not tracking the money and maybe we're saying yes to too many things and too many, marketing opportunities and they're getting hit up to spend money constantly, but no one's hitting them up to help them save money.
Yeah. So outside of all of that, it's knowing like, what are you even working for? Like I said, we're all going for financial freedom. There's so many different ways to get there, but have we actually taken the time to sit down and say, this is what I want in my life of financial freedom? I want to travel this many times a year. I want to spend time with the grandkids. I want to have these houses and these places and these things. And there's a dollar amount to each of those things. Like you and I were just talking, you worked with somebody like a retirement professional who started mapping out your version of financial freedom and pinned numbers to it. When we have a specific target, we also have a specific direction and we have a goal outside of ourselves to answer to when it comes to our numbers. So when we're looking at expenses and do I want to take this extra vacation or spend, $3,000 on this program, is it going to change that trajectory? And also knowing what's an investment in that trajectory, right? So again, even if you're not a law firm, if you're an attorney, you can make investments in yourself, like your program, like your roundtables, that yields a monetary ROI that gets you to that goal faster, even though you're spending money up front.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you just want to look at the investment and what what are the numbers? What's the ROI? And, you've got, for many firms, they're dealing with, pay-per-click and SEO and websites and social media and VAs and all the stuff that we can throw money at to try to build business and make it sustainable. And then it's not being tracked and measured. Right. So then we're just keep doing it until we at some point get frustrated and go, this isn't really helping.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the numbers behind the money, right? Because it doesn't
Right.
just stop at the money story. Like we have to hold all of our numbers accountable.
Yeah. But I mean, I hate to say this to lawyers, but I do sometimes that, money doesn't solve all their problems, but it sure does help.
Oh yeah.
When you can bring in the business and develop clients and know that, yeah, you may have issues then staffing, or you might have issues with, you want to get the work done, but that's a far better problem in some ways than, hey, how do I pay my rent, this month?
Oh, absolutely. Like, let's not lie to ourselves. Money really helps in life, in everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It does. It does. And, I've got my son's 529 pretty much done. And now granted, I only have one kid, so easier than multiples, but there's a sense of relief when you have, retirement done, or when you have your 529 funded, or when you just know that you're not, you can continue making money, but, at some point you don't have to anymore, but then it just becomes like, it just becomes icing on the cake.
Absolutely. And you bring up kids, like imagine you, listener, and you see like you now know all these things about money and how to make it, keep it, invest it, leverage compound growth in that space. Like you learn the language of money and you have kids and now you can pass that down to them. Because I think that's what happens to a lot of us. Our parents had no financial education because it's really not out there being presented like it should. And therefore, we're just kind of learning some of these things in adulthood, which can make you feel a type of way.
Yeah. And what I'd love to do, and maybe it's two or three of these, but like thinking about, the personal finance side, like what are the things that someone listening right now could do to start getting more educated, better educated on their finance. So like, let's just as an example, they're just not seeing the money come in the way it's supposed to come in, and they're just not sure where it's all going. Like, how do we get this under control?
Yeah, so looking at it and asking those questions is where we start. If you look at how much money you're making and you think you should be making more, then we need to go 3 layers deep. That's something that I use with my clients. Like we can't just ask why once, right? We have to ask and answer why 3 times. Typically, you get to gold when you get to that third ask. And then ask, how can I make more money? Or go find the information. We're all out here researching, right? There's no course on your specific situation.
Yeah.
So look at what your pressure point is. Like, where are you feeling it the most now? Is it that you're not making enough or you're not keeping enough? Because there are some pretty quick fixes for being able to keep enough money.
Well, let's talk about that. So let's say that the money's fixed. Someone's got a salary, or someone's got their law firm on autopilot, and it's producing a 500,000 a year. And that's great, right? A 500,000 a year. But they're not seeing it. They're not able to sock money away. They're not necessarily, they got it, there's a tax issue like that comes up, or something that happens where they're like behind. Like, how do lawyers start to evaluate the money going out?
Yeah, so there's really only 2 ways that we can change how much money we spend, right? We can trim fat, which 9 times out of 10, if you look at your transactions, there is fat to trim, even if it's a subscription that you forgot about.
Yeah.
The second way, and the least recognized, is negotiating.
Hmm.
Negotiating your expenses. There are companies out there that get paid commission because they negotiate things like your utility bills and your phone and your internet and all of those things. For law firms, negotiating and always shopping around for insurance and merchant fees. There's just kind of these housekeeping maintenance items that if we just once a year come to the negotiation table, we can usually save some costs there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did that with insurance this year, and well, it made a huge difference because they wanted to double my insurance, and I just had to spend a little extra time shopping around to figure out, what to do. And it ended up saving me, $5,000-6,000 a year because I just took a little extra time to ask around and figure out where to go. Um, people don't know where their money is going. Is that one of the biggest problems? Is that it's just gone? And
Absolutely.
it's restaurants, it's travel, it's all the extra things that we just don't like. I know what my mortgage is. I know what my AT&T bill is for our cell phones. Like I know what those numbers are, but there's that, the fixed numbers, and then there's all the the incidentals, the concert tickets and
Amazons and the office supply. Yes, all
yeah.
of the things. And like that's just what it is. It's so easy day to day to just swipe the card and be like, oh, I got it in my head. The big things are covered, but it's the small things that are really biting into your profits. Things like that.
Yeah. What are the top offenders?
Amazon software and subscriptions.
Boy, you answered that quickly. I thought you'd give it a second or a pause, not a pause at all. Surfing Amazon is crushing to me. I mean, I'm buying a lot of stuff that's like $10 and $15, so it's not terrible. But I can see people, wanting that, regular package a day. It's like, birthdays every day with Amazon.
It's here's what we're combating personally. And for business owners, your business financial habits are your personal financial habits. So we see it here too. What we're combating is instant gratification. This world that we're living in right now is designed to give us what we want, when we want it, and next day shipping, sometimes same day shipping,
Yeah.
right? That's what a
Yeah.
credit card is. It's, hey, you can spend this money, but you don't got to pay now. And it's
Yeah.
all there available to you. So when we're looking through expenses and how we can keep more money, what we're really challenged with are our financial habits.
Yeah, poor financial habits, right? And the worst is having credit card debt, right? I mean, you're just going to get destroyed if you have credit card debt. So I clean out my cards every year. I get my points, but they're every, month they're fully paid. And look, that's not a brag or an ego. That's, I think, just common sense, but you have to take a look at what you're spending and most people don't. They don't go through, like I go through my bank account, I go through my credit cards, make sure every charge is, it's a little my father and me doing that, I think. But you should see the way he used to look at a check. You get the bill at the end of a meal. He'd sit there and like every little detail to make
Just
sure
pick
it's
it
right.
apart.
He'd pick it apart. And sometimes, if I ordered the dessert, he'd give me like he'd look up at me and I could tell he just saw the dessert charge. But
Yeah. But we need a little bit of that in us. Like we have
yeah,
to do our due diligence with our money. And like again, it's really easy to just swipe the card and not think that it's adding up. But when you face the numbers and when you measure where your money is going, then you can look back and be like, man, I spent $5,000 last year on eating out. If I would have invested that, multiply that by 7% compounded on average. And was it, can you make a few changes and reallocate that money into something that's going to serve your financial future, not your instant gratification?
yeah. And this might be a plug for you or my new financial planner, Justin Crane, who's been amazing to work with. I'll put his information in the show notes, but like to walk through my P&L with me and you did that, you did the same thing for me to make sure everything was above board and labeled correctly. But he went through it to like look at 2023, 2024, 2022, like what's changed, what's different, what do I have budgeted, what do I need, what do I need to make? He put together like a full blown personal finance, P&L for me. So it's like that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I guess I'm just saying like, get professional help. Like if you're just
Yeah.
not, if that's not you and that's not me, like I'm not a detail person. I need professional help. I need my bookkeeper, my CPA, and my financial planner to all essentially like dumb stuff down for me so that I can get through it. Cause I hate it. I hate dealing in the numbers different than you love it. That's your stuff. And I'm just like, I just hate that it's even a part of my life.
No, you're absolutely right. Like you have to bring on your key financial players. What you don't know, what you don't know. And what you got to go find somebody, whether it's a course online, whether it's watching YouTube videos, you have to find somebody, but it is worth investing in a shortcut, especially when it comes to something like this, because one run through of your numbers can save you decimals down the road.
Yeah. And so what are, I know one thing that you mentioned in is a possible solution was, tracking your numbers, but then how do people keep on top of it? Is there something that they can do to ensure that years don't go by or a year goes by without really looking at the numbers from their business or their personal finances?
With businesses, I mean, it's it's a non-negotiable. You have to track your numbers every month by a professional, unless you want to go to school and learn how to be an accountant, and that's just not the highest and best use of your time. But personally, there's an app that I love called Rocket Money, and they give you a free trial. And what they really sell people on is, hey, we'll identify all of your subscriptions, and if you want to cancel them, we'll cancel them for you. 8 out of 10 people that download the free version of that app automatically save money, because a lot of us have a lot of things going on in our finance that we don't know or remember are happening. So immediately they almost pay for themselves. But after that, it's basically like accounting software for you personally, where it will automatically code and, allocate where your money's going. So at least you can log into your app and have some type of a visual of where your money's gone.
Okay. And I think there's also an app for like tracking subscriptions. I don't know what that is. I think I just heard it on
I wonder if it's Rocket Money, because that's what
is
they
it
push
Rocket
out
Money?
there.
Okay.
It might be. That's like their main message, but they're really like a tracking app month to month.
Okay. Because I think it's like I have, let's say, a half a dozen or more streaming subscriptions, and maybe I'm double paying for HBO, and it would pick up on that. It would like pull all those apps together and recognize all my subscriptions and then help me cut back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if Rocket Money does that, then great. That might be good to do. So you mentioned it, and I just want to kind of, I don't know if this is a wrap up, in the next couple minutes on this, but I think it's become clear that business professionals aren't doing a very good job of tracking things and of making it a sustainable thing. So what are the things that you do specifically for lawyers and law firms that get them on a track where they can start not only making the money, but actually, better leveraging it in their favor?
I think a great, easy implementation is using a cash management system like Profit First. This system, I use it personally for myself, and we help business clients set it up all the time. And basically what it is the new age envelope system. And if you like reading, read the book. Mike Michalowicz has a cheesy sense of humor that I really appreciate. But there's so much psychology behind this multi-bank account system as to why it works so well. But it is as automated as it is going to get managing your cash in a business or in your personal life. And it automatically sets those boundaries for your spending to where if you overspend, you'll see the money's gone. You don't have everything else bunching up in your bank account, giving you this false idea that you have more money than you have after everything needs to come out.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good shortcut. If the word budget still makes you feel ick, this is like your shortcut to a budget.
Okay. No, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. So let's move on to our game-changing podcast, which is Mind Valley, the Mind Valley podcast. What is that?
I love Mind Valley. So Mind Valley is revamping education as a whole. And they have different courses, mini courses, in-depth platforms around all things: business, finance, spirituality, self-growth, marketing. I mean, they have so many things in there and the differentiator for Mind Valley is that they are bringing science and what we're starting to learn about the human mind and the energy, and they're bringing it into this more tangible topic for people to kind of dig into it a little bit and start learning about it.
Okay. Yeah. Check out Mind Valley, everybody. Not Mind Body, Mind Valley.
Mind Valley.
It's my body. It's your Mind Valley. All right. So that's fantastic. And so as we wrap up, want to thank, of course, our wonderful sponsors, Lawmatics and Get Staffed Up, both terrific partners to the show. And Chelsea, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach you and say, hey, help me with my numbers?
Yeah, so I'm going to put the Money Whisperer, my Instagram, out there for this one.
Okay. And we've got that in the show notes, I'm sure.
Yes.
Money Whisperer. Okay. Awesome. And just maybe email, I don't know, email, website, or is that your website?
The website, if you're a law firm owner, check out our website, yourcoresolution.com. If this struck you as an individual, my individual targeted is Money Whisperer on Instagram.
Okay. Very good. Very good. All right, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming back on the show as a three-timer. I haven't had too many three-timers, so that's
Ooh, put me in the book.
you're there. You're on top of the list. And so everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with Chelsea and I today. Again, get your money under control, understand the business and the personal side of things. Maybe it's an issue with, tough conversation you have to have with your spouse, like where's all the money going? I'm not going to say, who's doing the right or the wrong in that case, but I think understanding how the money's going out is pretty important, especially if you're bringing in a lot and it's not there for you. And Chelsea, thanks so much again. I appreciate you coming on the show again.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everybody, take care, be safe, be well. We will talk again soon.